Is Bitcoin's 4-year cycle dead? Over the last 3 cycles, we have seen some massive spikes up in Bitcoin. Back in 2021, 2017 and 2013, we saw Bitcoin rip up and do multiple X's. This cycle has been no different. We have seen Bitcoin go from $16,000, $17,000 all the way up to $109,000 in January 2025. But is the cycle finished? Well, I'm going to play the devil's advocate today. I'm going to give you 3 reasons why I think the Bitcoin bear and bull markets may be finally over. Before I begin, can I please ask you to like and subscribe to Crypto Warehouse and help us grow the channel? The first reason then that I think the Bitcoin 4-year cycle is over is this. Institutional adoption has changed market dynamics. Bitcoin's price cycles historically have been driven by retail speculation in the early years. The return of retail leads us on to all-time highs. This is amplified by the halving, the supply constraints of Bitcoin. Now, institutional investors and players such as BlackRock, Fidelity, MicroStrategy are starting to dominate the Bitcoin consumption, holding larger and larger Bitcoin reserves and trading via ETFs and custody solutions is taking retail out of the market and into the hands of the financial institutions. Their long-term holding and sophisticated strategies dampen the halving-driven volatility. The data shows spot Bitcoin ETFs held over 1 million Bitcoin by the middle of last year, reducing market sensitivity to retail FOMO. Now, my argument against this is very simple, and I've mentioned this on the streams before. Institutions, instead of dampening the 4-year cycle, may actually increase it by amplifying the narrative. If the institutional investors and the holders via the ETFs believe in the 4-year cycle, they will push the price higher during the bull run and then lower during the bear market. So it might not be a case of the cycle being over, but actually more volatile. In addition to this, Bitcoin's market, it's not the Wild West anymore. Back in 2017, retail traders drove the runs. Now institutions own the game. Reason number 2 then, potentially the macroeconomic factors overshadowing the halvings. As we have seen with the inauguration of Trump, we have had the trade wars, we have had inflation coming down, we have potentially interest rates coming down. These global economic conditions now exert more influence than the halving events themselves. For example, the Bitcoin 2022 bear market aligned with the Federal Reserve rate hikes, not the halving cycle. In 2025, central banks are navigating soft landings or recessions. The macro trends could drown out the halving signals. Posts on X suggest that traders now prioritize Fed announcements over crypto-specific events. Traders, therefore, are now listening more to Powell than the cycle, not the block rewards, but in fact, the Federal Reserve. If inflation spikes or markets crash, who cares about a halving? That said, some argue cycles kick in when macro headwinds ease adjust. Just look at the 2020 recovery and potentially the 2025 recovery we are likely to see this year with the Fed's rate cuts. My argument against that would be that halvings historically align with macro recoveries, such as COVID in 2020, the end of the Trump trade wars in 2025. So the 4-year cycle, don't forget, is also timed to be against the presidential election. Maybe the 4-year cycle isn't going to be forgotten. Maybe it's just cyclical like everything else in nature. Now, the third and final reason, and for me, the most important reason of all, Bitcoin's maturity. And maturity leads to reduced volatility. A few days ago, I put up this chart. This is the Amazon chart that shows you the volatility of Amazon as a stock from its inception until today. We had 60, 70, 80, 90% drawdowns on Amazon over its initial few years. And now, because of the size of Amazon, we are not going to see that kind of drawdown. We're not likely to see those kinds of pumps either. As Bitcoin matures then into digital gold, a replacement for gold, its volatility is declining. Its market cap is now standing at over $1 trillion. The global adoption makes it less prone to 10x pumps or 80% crashes. The 2024 halving saw muted price action compared to 16 or 20, suggesting diminishing halving impact. Critics argue Bitcoin's growing stability undermines the 4-year boom and bust cycle. Bitcoin, therefore, is growing up, and as an adolescent, maybe it's going to start having some growing pains, but it's soon to be at the end of that journey. It's not the volatile kid it was in 2013. With a $1 trillion market cap, it's more digital gold than pump and dump. The 2024 halving barely budged prices compared to 2016. As Bitcoin stabilizes, therefore, the 4-year swings might fade, but don't count out scarcity. Some say it still fuels cycles, just less dramatically. My counter argument to that is very simple. The higher the market cap, the less returns we get, diminishing returns. But diminishing returns does not mean no returns. It means instead of the 100 or 500x return that you get on Bitcoin, you are likely to see 2, 3, 5x's. We've already seen Bitcoin go from 16,000 to 109,000, almost a 7x. That's a decent return. If Bitcoin goes on to, for argument's sake, 160,000 this cycle, that will be a 10x return from the bottom to the top. So for me, the cycle isn't dead, it's simply compressed with larger market caps come diminishing returns. So those are my 3 big reasons on why I think potentially the 4-year cycle is over, with my counter arguments against them. So now let's wrap things up. Market dominance, the size of the market, institutional adoption, and the macro climate could all lead us to the end of the 4-year cycle. Personally, I think the scarcity drop of the Bitcoin halving and human psychology will still contribute some ways towards the price of Bitcoin. I don't think it is dead and buried yet. I think it is just going to be slightly less volatile than it has been over the last 3 cycles. Anyway, are you team dead or team halving? Let me know in the comments below what you think about my prediction for the Bitcoin halving and the Bitcoin cycles. Remember, I'm playing devil's advocate. I am still a true believer in the 4-year cycle of Bitcoin and therefore of crypto. Let me know down below if you're team dead or team Bitcoin. I have been Mike. You have been great. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. See you next time. Bye-bye.